All right, y'all. Today we're gonna look at this boudoir photography business, see if they have BSS with their local or their city Google search here in Vacaville, California. So we're back here in the GBC universe. So we take declining boudoir photographers, make them into the #1 boudoir photographer in their city. As always, our North Star is FSIC, full spectrum intent capture. More of that and like the pinned post or whatever featured post on this profile. And that's because FSIC explains why all boudoir photographers either rise or fall. So for rising, we're probably getting everyone across the entire intent spectrum, the intent ladder here. High intent on the left, lowest intent over on the right. And if a boudoir photographer, their business is falling, probably missing chunks of people here and the intent spectrum. So here we talk about way on the left, BSS. So we're focusing on the highest intent people, the people searching for boudoir photo shoots in their city right now on social media and in Google search. So closest to the money, easiest to close. And way over at the other end, that's the lowest intent people in our city. Got to reach them with interruption ads via Instagram and Facebook. Maybe they know what boudoir is. Maybe they've never heard of it. We got to educate them. And so that's what we talk about on our other brand, Boudoir FB Ad Doctor. We talk about BLCS. And right now we're only working with boudoir. Over there, we're only working with boudoir photographers, spending more than 10 grand per month on boudoir Facebook ads. All right, so boudoir search sameness, BSS, that's when a boudoir photographer has either 0 or 1 slots on Google, on page 1 of Google search for the highest intent keywords. So 0 slots, we're going to be dead soon if we got 0 slots on page 1. That's because we know approximately 80% of Google searches never go past page 1. They're page 1 only. So that means approximately 20% go to page 2 and deeper. So we care about this 80%, the bulk of the market. This is who we're going to focus on. So if we got 0 slots, we're visible to 80% of the market, which means we're basically an invisible business. If we got 1 slot, we're still essentially invisible because we look the same as everyone else. If there's 10 organic slots page 1 on Google, if other peeps, if there's 9 other boudoir photographers than us, that means, we got 1 link same as everyone else, and a buyer's just going to go down page 1 Google search, control click, right click, open a new tab, everyone, shoot a message to everyone, get price quotes, compare pricing, and price shop, everyone on page 1. But if we can get more real estate on page 1 and fewer competitors on page 1, we actually get price shop less. Now, 0 or 1 slots on page 1 on Google is not normal. It's extremely common, but it's not normal. It's actually the symptom of 2 deeper root causes. Those 2 deeper root causes are market saturation, which basically everyone knows about, and the previously unknown root cause, which we now know, is actually the false belief of page 1 equality. So market saturation, that's when someone gets a new phone, they are a new iPhone, they throw up their own Google My Business profiles, and then now shoot boudoir. They got their own website. They're trying to compete with us for page 1 Google supremacy. And as a result, we also got people getting a new camera, then they start posting the mom groups on Facebook, and they also offer boudoir photography. So market saturation means more sellers to the same number of buyers. That's literally what it means. It means it's harder and harder for each seller to win. So everyone understands also big market saturation happened during COVID. People couldn't work, people lost their jobs, and they had to, big flood of boudoir photographers came into the market then because people had to, because they needed to earn money somehow. Now, the previously unknown root cause, the second one, is the false belief of page 1 equality. And what that is, so the default belief of page 1 equality, which kind of people automatically accepted, they didn't really think about it because there was no term to actually describe it, is actually kind of assuming or just accepting that, every boudoir photographer gets either 0 or 1 slots page 1 on Google for their website, and if the market gets saturated, it pushes off page 1 to page 2, because some new websites ranking higher. Well, that's how it is, and that's simply how it is, whatever. That's the game, and hopefully someone deletes their website, so maybe we can get back on page 1 and Google lets us back in. But no, that is 100% false. That is a false belief. we have to simply accept that. What I've discovered is Google will actually give us as many links and slots on page one Google search as we want to put in the effort to acquire. And I use this strategy that we're going to talk about to go from 0 out of 10 slots on page one to 9 out of 10 slots on page one in Google search in 10 days. So we'll talk about that in like 3 or 4 more pictures here. Next up, we know that boudoir photographer with BSS, boudoir search sameness, is a disappearing boudoir photographer. So if we got 0 slots on page one, we're on page two, we're invisible to the 80%, approximately 80% bulk of the market. Disappearing boudoir photographer, we got disappeared onto page two. And if we're, one slot on page one of Google, then we're also disappearing because we're not visible. I mean, people don't see no difference between us and everyone else on page one of Google. Literally nothing different. And there's going to clicking price shop plus everyone down page one. And again, approximately 80% of Google searches never even go to page two. So we don't even got to worry. We literally don't have to worry about page one. And disappearing boudoir photographer, basically it's the canary in the coal mine. If one becomes a disappearing boudoir photographer, pretty soon thereafter, the boudoir photography business will disappear as well. But now we have a solution. So we now know that BSS is treated with social search saturation, aka our S-cubed methodology that we invented. And again, this is exactly the strategy, the methodology I use to go from 0 out of 10 slots on Google page one to 9 out of 10 slots on Google page one in 10 days. And this is the only strategy for boudoir photographers that I've seen that can actually successfully fight back and against market saturation and continue to grow market share. And so it works by, and we'll go deeper into it, but the name, social search saturation. We saturate social search for our highest intent keywords. It's kind of like the feeder rivers, small feeder rivers from the Andes Mountains and to the Amazon. And kind of all that reputation, the keyword dominance on search flows into the Amazon River, page one Google search, and the pages thereafter for what we want to rank for. And so, yeah, this is the only thing that I've seen that successfully fights back against market saturation and basically kind of makes it null and void. Because imagine we're in Las Vegas, imagine there's 1 million boudoir photographers total, we're one of them. Everyone's got a boudoir photography website, everyone's trying to rank on Google, page one Google. But if we crank up S-cube methodology to the maximum, and let's say we rank, the first 300 slots across all social platforms for search, and as a result, we also rank the first 300 slots Google for search for the highest intent keywords for boudoir photographer buyers. Then anytime a buyer in our city literally searches anywhere, most likely Google, 90% of searches still, approximately 90% of searches still happen on Google. Then we got the first 300 slots and there's 10 organic slots per page. We got the first 30 pages all to ourselves for the organic slots. And all the other competitors in organic, they start on page 31. No one's going to page 31. So even if the market's ultra saturated with 1 million boudoir photographers, whose business is still growing? Ours. Whose business is disappearing? All the other boudoir photographers, because they cannot be found. And guess what? Approximately 80% of Google searches never go to page two. They're page one only, which means we really only got to worry about page one and take as much, we say a GBC minimum of 3 out of 10 is what we want to take. But, S-cubed methodology gives us a pathway to take as many slots on page one as we want, if we put in the effort to acquire those slots. Now, once treated with S-cubed methodology, we have page one visibility. A bonus of this is every new slot we take on Google page one is we are kicking a competing boudoir photographer off page one, effectively making them invisible. Again, that's because we actually know that approximately 80% of Google searches never go to page two. They're page one only searches. And that's all we care about. This is the bulk of the market, the approximately 80% of searches that happen like this. Now, page one visibility activates boudoir search visibility for us. Now, our GBC recommended is always to hit 3 out of the 10 slots on page one, and that helps with boudoir search visibility because everyone else is going to have most likely one slot on page one. So when they see 3 versus 1, when buyers see 3 versus 1, they're instinctively going to say, wow, why is Google recommending this person so many different times? Um, you know, I'll just go with this person that's got the 3 slots. There is a tiny, tiny, tiny chance that another boudoir photographer will have 2 slots, but those tiny chances are 3 slots will always overwhelm them. So that's why we want boudoir search visibility. And a boudoir photographer with boudoir search visibility is a visible boudoir photographer, a VBP. So this is our full micro universe here. A disappearing boudoir photographer with boudoir search sameness is caused by market saturation and the false belief of page 1 equality. We now know it's false, but when people believed it prior, they never thought to try a solution to overcome it because they thought it was just the default, just how it is. But we've proven, we'll see in the next picture, proven that that's incorrect. We now have the path, we now have the solution, our own proprietary S-cubed methodology to achieve page 1 visibility, become a visible boudoir photographer, and to have boudoir search visibility. So my results using S-cubed methodology for myself. So I want to rank for the term BLCS boudoir. So I employed S-cubed methodology. Go down to the organics here. So we got organic slot 1, Instagram, me. Slot 2, me. Slot 3, me. Slot 4, me. Slot 5, me. Slot 6, me. Slot 7, me. Slot 8, me. Slot 10, me. So I went from 0 out of 10 slots to 9 out of 10 slots, Google search page 1, in 10 days. Exclusively using S-cubed methodology, and I was using on the minimum setting, like kind of the minimum, kind of the minimum frequency. So you can see the results that I got. So now main event here, we're going to look at this boudoir photographer of Vacaville, California. I might have to copy this, bring it over if I don't have the tab up. So we're going to see if this boudoir photography business has BSS for their local and city search. Actually, their local and city search is actually the same in this case. All right. There's a Vacaville. All right, so going down to the organic. Nope. 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 There we go. We got one. And let's see. Nope. 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 All right, so we got 1 out of 10. So, in Vacaville, where is this place? Stockton. Okay, yeah, it looks like it's between San Fran and Sacramento. All right, so we got 1 out of 10 slots for Vacaville, California. So yes, we do have BSS, or this boudoir photography business does have BSS, boudoir search sameness, and we have not met the GBC recommended minimum of 3 out of 10 page 1 slots on Google, and that's recommended because, dude, if we're 3 out of 10 local and 3 out of 10 local search, 3 out of 10 city search, page 1, we can basically guarantee we're not disappearing. We're either treading water or we're growing, most likely growing. That's why we want to hit 3 out of 10. So if you are a disappearing boudoir photographer, you went and did the local search for yourself and the city, or local search for the highest intent buyer keywords and the city search for the highest intent buyer keywords, and you had BSS for one or both, or you did not meet the GBC recommended minimum of 3 out of 10 slots on page 1 for either one or both of those searches. And you now realize page 1 equality was kind of automatically accepted before, but now you realize it's a false belief. Now you realize, wow, we truly can take as many page 1 slots on Google as we want to put in the effort to acquire. And you understand market saturation with how, basically people get new iPhones, throw up their Google My Business profile and their website saying they shoot boudoir. So get new gear, increase the number of boudoir photographers over time. It's always increasing, and you're actually thinking ahead. You're seeing AI. You accept it's okay. It's probably going to start steal more people's jobs. So what we're actually going to need to do is It's going to force a bunch of boudoir photographers to come into the marketplace that were not boudoir photographers before, but they have, everyone's got a camera on their phone. And so you want to fortify your position ahead of AI taking everyone's jobs. And like, I don't know, could that double the amount of boudoir photographers in the market? No idea. But you want to fortify your position before then. You kind of want to get more slots on page one before that happens to kick out current competitors, and get even more slots on page one to fortify your position against the coming influx of new boudoir photographers that will inevitably be coming into the marketplace. So more sellers for the same number of buyers as AI takes more and more people's jobs. And so you want to fortify you want to kick out the current competitors, fortify your position against future competitors. And you also want the your CNS cubed methodology is the only solution that you can see that allows you to do that as a boudoir photographer. And you actually want kind of the extra back-end benefits from this as well, which is every day we execute S-cubed methodology successfully. We're actually building like these thematic keyword columns that are plugged, kind of like spokes, that are plugged into our main brand across our social channels, across the internet, our website, our brand name, our social handle name. And as we do more and more of that every day, it actually increases the probability we get recommended an AI overview, this premium spot placement up at the top above everything. And many times, it's literally recommending one studio at a time, based off of thematic keyword relevance, authority, things like that, and frequency. And also every day we execute methodology correctly. So it's building up that momentum in the background for AI overview and also standard AI search and all the different AI search platforms. ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, Microsoft Copilot, Google Gemini. Every day we successfully execute S-cubed methodology, build up those thematic keyword columns attached to our brand, kind of like spokes on a wheel. We're increasing the probability AI recommends us in search into the future. Kind of increasing that probability every single day we successfully execute. And you also see that kind of the earlier you jump on this, the more distance you put, kind of the more momentum is built, kind of more fortification, kind of fortifying the levees like New Orleans against the ocean because it's below sea level, and building momentum for back-end AI search, AI overview recommendations forever into the future. Well, for every day that S-cubed methodology is successfully executed against all current and future competitors who are not running S-cubed methodology. Because my current plan is to only run it with one boudoir photographer per city. And so if I were to work with a competitor and that happened, instead you would have to rederive and refigure out and retest S-cubed methodology to figure it out for yourself. And you would never really know if you actually derived it correctly. But even so, you'd have to then go execute it on your own, which you'd have less confidence in, because again, you would not have known if you've actually derived it correctly. And you'd have to equal our output of me working with your competitor to maintain our gap where we're already ahead. You'd have to actually double or triple our output to actually close the gap and overtake us, kind of suck away that thematic keyword kind of momentum, back into momentum for AI search engines to steal it away from us. So you realize, screw that. It's better to simply be, the first mover on this, kind of kick out current competitors from page one, actually increase, fortify your position against future competitors as AI takes people's jobs, force them to become boudoir photographers. And so you're saying S-cubed methodology is the best path for you because you want, page one visibility, become a visible boudoir photographer, achieve boudoir search visibility, because you need that on your way to become number one boudoir photographer in your city. So if that's you, shoot me a DM when I open up for new patient intake. My DMs are closed right now. Slots are currently closed. And when you do open up, or when I do open it up, shoot me a DM and we will see if you qualify for using S-cubed methodology.